The United Nations mission in Hodeidah records 8 landmine civilian casualties in the city in the past month. Government report reveals thousands of Houthi violations against people in Al Jawf. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is the English news with me, Shaza Abdelbey. Yemen security forces said they have arrested the suspects in the killing of the World Food Programme representative in Taiz, Muayyid Hamidi. Muayyid's body was taken from Taiz to Aden in preparation for his transfer to his country, Jordan. This report has more details.
Yemeni security forces in Taiz Governorate announced the arrest of those directly accused of assassinating United Nations employee Muayyid Hamidi, as well as 10 others who were part of a gang responsible for the targeting, amid a presidential and government effort to limit the incident's impact on the United Nations humanitarian interventions in the country. 2 unidentified gunmen on a motorcycle opened fire on Jordanian World Food Programme representative Muayyid Hamidi. The incident occurred on Friday afternoon in Taiz Governorate, while the official was in a restaurant in the Turbah district. The 2 shooters escaped after killing one Yemeni and wounding another. In a brief statement, a security media officer in Taiz revealed that the security services had detained individuals directly responsible for Hamidi's death, as well as 10 others who were part of a group implicated in the crime. Earlier, Yemeni security forces in Taiz stated that they had identified and tracked individuals suspected of assassinating the 50-year-old World Food Programme coordinator.
Today, we were able to apprehend 2 suspects in the assassination of Muayyid Hamidi, in addition to detaining 10 individuals affiliated with the crime. The head of the Presidential Leadership Council is keeping a vigilant watch on the proceedings of this case and is issuing directives whenever necessary.
The Director General of the Governorate's police announced that a joint security campaign was launched under his direction. The Yemeni Minister of Interior, for its part, instructed security forces in all freed governorates and ports to apprehend the person suspected of killing the head of the World Food Programme team in Taiz, identifying him as Ahmed Yusuf As-Surra. The World Food Programme expressed its sorrow over the murder of one of its employees in a statement. While the assassination was condemned by the United Nations and the international community, amid official Yemeni efforts to limit the impact of the incident on international humanitarian work in the country. According to the World Food Programme, Hamidi, a committed humanitarian worker, had recently arrived in Yemen to take up his new job as the head of the WFP office in Taiz, where he had served for over 18 years, including prior posts in Yemen, Sudan, Syria, and Iraq.
Masan Project announced removal of more than 800 explosives in the 3rd week of July. Since the start of its mission in Yemen in 2018, the project has been able to clear more than 400,000 landmines and explosive devices. The United Nations mission to support the Hodeidah Agreement announced that 8 landmine civilian casualties were recorded in the city in June. This report has more details.
Landmines still continue causing children, youth and adults injuries, if not killing them. The United Nations mission in support of Al Hodeidah Agreement on Maha announced that 8 people were killed and injured as a result of landmine and explosive remnants of war incidents in Hodeidah Governorate during the month of June. In its monthly report issued, it said that it recorded 6 landmine and explosive remnants of war incidents, which resulted in 8 civilian casualties, 5 dead and 3 injured, in the Governorate during June 2023. According to the report, the reported cases occurred in the districts of Al-Hali, Hais and At-Tuhaita. The victims were 57% of men, 38% of children and only 5% of women. It indicated that the number of civilian casualties in June represents a decrease of 20% compared to the previous month, which witnessed 10 casualties, 4 dead and 6 wounded. In its report, the mission warned of the risk of an increase in landmine erosion in the coming months due to heavy floods expected at this time of the year in the districts of Hais, Al Khawkha and Al Makha, as happened last year when seasonal floods washed away mines for long distances due to torrential rains, including anti-vehicle mines, which further endangered civilians, livestock and commercial traffic.
The arms of the joint forces targeted a gathering of the Houthi militia in Al-Dala. These movements came after violent confrontations in Al-Fakhr front after the militia shelled a number of areas. According to the sources, clashes broke out for hours and ended with putting out the Houthi fire sources.
In Marib, since the start of the conflict, people have sought refuge in this city, which is in the middle of Yemen. After 8 years of conflict, 1.5 million people are displaced in this city. Though it's close to front lines, it's considered a safe haven. And the people live within the communities and spread across nearly 200 sites. In addition, there are thousands of migrants who are trapped here at the prey of smugglers and living in inhumane conditions. People have next to nothing. They need water, food, good shelters, access to health, education and protection services. The conditions here in Marib are harsh, from hot weather, desert hot weather, to heavy rains that cause flooding. That's why we in the EU are supporting our partners to provide assistance. This includes a shelter that doesn't leak, allows children to access education, women and girls to access health and provide clean water and food. The situation in Yemen remains very fragile and it's a difficult living conditions. That's why we must continue the humanitarian response and assistance.
Tribal sources reported that the Houthi militia imposed a suffocating siege on one village in Al Jawf. Sources said the Houthi militia sent a military campaign that included dozens of military vehicles and imposed a tight security on the village, kidnapped 3 tribesmen at a checkpoint, and took them to unknown destination. Citizens in Ib organized a protest to denounce the Houthi armed robbery of citizens' lands. Local sources said dozens of citizens organized a peaceful protest in front of the council building, condemning the armed robbery of land by the Houthi militia. The Media and Rights Committee in Al Jawf revealed that the Iranian-backed Houthi militia committed more than 5,000 violations against civilians in the governorate during the first half of the current year 2023. This report has more details.
The Media and Rights Committee in Al Jawf Governorate revealed that the Iranian-backed terrorist Houthi militia committed 5,945 violations against civilians in the governorate during the first half of this year. The committee stated in its report that it had monitored 17 cases of killing and wounding, including women and children, noting that the violations committed by the Houthi militia included disappearance, forced displacement, destruction of citizens' vehicles, and the forcible seizure of about 600 hectares of agricultural land. The head of the committee in Al Jawf Governorate, Saleh Jamala, indicated that the Houthi militia continues to commit violations against citizens in Al Jawf Governorate and confirmed that the midterm report monitored about 6,000 violations. He pointed out that the Houthi militia has been besieging the people of Asir area east of Al-Hazm for 5 days and is terrorizing children and women. He called on the international community and the United Nations to condemn the Houthi violations and to exert sufficient pressure to stop their crimes.
Coming next in the news. Yemeni art exhibition in New York portrays suffering of children during war.
سنة وأنا رسامة من سنة لما بدأت الحرب كان عمري 3 سنين كنت أخاف أوقات بس الرسم يسعدني حلمي أن أكون رسامة عالمية
أمنيتي صعود سلم النجاح وأحقق كل أحلامي. أنا سالم من حضرموت وأنا أحب التصوير. لما بدأت الحرب كان عمري 6 سنوات. أحب تصوير كل جميل في بلدي.
Welcome back. The Houthi militia approved a number of measures against private schools in areas under their control. Educational sources confirmed that the militia imposed the appointment of a supervisor for each private school to ensure the teaching of distorted curriculum and the implementation of school activities that promote the militia's ideas. A recent UN report stated that measles cases witnessed a significant increase in the first half of this year after recording nearly 26,000 cases, most of them in Houthi-controlled areas. According to the report, 88% of the children who were reported with suspected measles infection did not receive a single dose of the vaccine. The number of dengue fever infections in displaced people camps in Ma'rib rose to more than 1,000 this month. A health official in the governorate demanded calls for the instant intervention of the Ministry of Health. This report has more details.
The continuing outbreak of dengue fever in Ma'rib Governorate is a source of concern for the population and the displaced people, especially in light of the weakness of the health sector and its inability to respond effectively to the spread of the disease or to provide medicines and solutions to treat the injured. At the same time, residents and displaced people live in difficult economic conditions that do not help them to access health care in the health centers, which led to an increase in the number of cases suffering from dengue fever.
The dengue fever is an epidemic that poses a great danger on citizens due to the residential density and overcrowding in the displacement camps. It is treated with proper fluids and nutrients that are not available in many areas.
The health sector in Ma'rib Governorate remained as it was 10 years ago, with a capacity of less than 500,000 people without modernization or development. Despite the fact that the number of displaced people and the population has reached more than 3 million people. This made hospitals unable to provide care or medicines for dengue fever patients. The number of infected cases that were registered in government hospitals increased to more than 1,500 since the beginning of this year, while the number of infected cases was doubled in hospitals and private centers without being documented, according to Ma'rib Governorate Health Office.
The hospitals are facing a lot of challenges due to the lack of medicines. There is no specific medicine for the dengue fever disease, but we treat its symptoms. The hospital staff is doing its best, but the overcrowding demands more facilities and capabilities.
The IDPs were forced to live in overcrowded and unsanitary places, which formed a fertile environment for the multiplication and spread of mosquitoes, as well as the spread of stagnant water and sewage water. According to the Health Bureau, the highest rates of dengue fever that were recorded in the camps of the displaced are in Al Wadi district, Harib, and Raghwan city.
The first art exhibition of its kind, Do You See Me, at the Brooklyn Children's Museum in New York City has portrayed the works and stories of 30 Yemeni children who lived through war in their childhood. This report has more details.
Do You See Me is a poignant art expression that amplifies the voices of gifted young artists who have endured the ravages of war during their childhood in Yemen, which was described as the worst humanitarian crisis in the world. The expression was organized by the artist Sahar Al-Lawda'i, the head of Qamariya International Art Foundation, and sponsored by Yama HRD, Arab America Foundation, Blick Art Materials, and others. The exhibition took place at the Brooklyn Children's Museum. The opening ceremony was graced by the presence of the New York Mayor Eric Adams, the Yemeni ambassador Mohammed Al-Hadrami, the Yemeni consul Ali Al-Abadi, and the international American artist Archie Rand, and various other notable individuals. Through their remarkable artworks, the exhibition not only shed light on their personal journeys, but also celebrates the rich heritage, vibrant cultures, and artistic traditions of Yemen that the world doesn't know about. The exhibition serves as a powerful platform to bring attention to the resilience, creativity, and untold stories of these individuals, while fostering a deeper understanding and appreciation for the civilization's unique artistic expressions. It displays the works and stories of 30 Yemeni children and youth who lived through the war during their childhood, through 60 diverse works, in addition to pictures of artists in popular costumes representing their different governorates, including Socotra.
Here's a reminder of the main headlines. Yemeni security forces announced the arrest of suspects in the killing of the UN official in Taiz. The United Nations mission in Hodeidah records 8 landmine civilian casualties in the city in the past month. Government report reveals thousands of Houthi violations against people in Al Jouf. This is the end of the news. Thank you for watching.